So we find that sometimes some subjects that can be taught inside a lesson can feel a bit stuffy and non-real world like. And we have access to Charlotte Land and her ambassadors that work across the Derby and Nottingham area in order to bring somebody from industry into your classroom to either help run experiments or to talk about the job that they do, or to run a specific project that they've got going. So sometimes they have a space project that might be going for primary, or a literacy program that might be helping. And they have people that have boundless enthusiasm for science to help enthuse students to want to get engaged in the topics that are running. I've seen projects run where they've used Lego, where they've done building things outside, and they've bought a whole load of like large Jenga puzzle bits and pieces across. And it's all about looking at how science can kind of be worked across the curriculum and not just in a science manner.
Deb, you're on, I hate to say it, but you're on mute.
I'm on mute, but what I was doing was I was closing down the different screens, could you see, so that we could see, because I did a link. I was trying to see if I could find an enthuse link so that I could put the expression of interest form in the chat, but I couldn't. So I will send that to you separately. So we've talked about Enthuse, and we've talked about how that's sponsored CPD, so that's useful for you. And we've talked about the role of STEM ambassador hubs. But we also have bursaries, and we also have ways of making funded courses at York and funded courses with us more accessible. And the bursaries really do change every now and again, and occasionally we do have fully funded bursaries. So at the moment we do have some fully funded bursaries, and we've got 4 days left, haven't we, Anna, on some bursaries that are happening at the moment. So if anybody does want some funding and can access some funding quickly, it is worth dropping us a quick email. We have got a range of different courses, and we've been working with Vic so that people in across your teaching school hub can get access to those. And some of that is going through. So some of those offers are on the screen now. And we tend to be pretty good at trying to shout out about those. So when we do have offers, we'll let partners, I can see we've got Sarah Fielding on the course, so we let people like that, like Vic, know that those sorts of courses are happening, and then you're welcome obviously to get in touch. Okay, so our Science Learning Partnership obviously covers the whole of the East Midlands, and for those of you in some parts of Nottinghamshire, sometimes Jane Elmer, who is our Leicester and Leicestershire lead, will also come across. Jane couldn't be with us today because she is teaching, but she's a senior STEM facilitator. So Anna, you're just going to take us through some of the things that Jane Elmer does with us.
Absolutely. If you can move to the next slide for me, that would be fabulous. So one of the bursaries that was on the previous slides was for climate change, and that is actually what Jane is currently teaching today. So she is a biology and chemistry specialist, and said mainly works out of Leicester, but does like to travel around. So she very frequently comes up to Nottingham and Derby for us in order to be able to deliver courses. She has a passion for subject knowledge enhancement at both the Key Stage 3, Key Stage 4, Triple Science and A-level, and even the new T levels that are going in as well, so the post-16 T levels. And you can see all of the different courses that she likes to run with regards to biology and chemistry. There are some new developments that she's been doing some research with regards to Soar Valley College in Leicester around tackling the challenges of disadvantaged and white British underachievement, specifically boys within science. And she's been doing some research with regards to that and has been working with Bav Yadav at Soar Valley College in order to be able to deliver that to other schools in the surrounding areas. So if anybody is interested in being a part of that, then again, please get in contact with me and I can put you in contact with the right person for it. Jane also very much believes in the Gatsby benchmarks and careers within science, and using that to enthuse people to want to be able to take A-level biology, chemistry, physics, etc. And so she does quite a lot of work around the careers side of STEM as well, from both a primary and secondary point of view.
We might have people on the call who are not aware of what the Gatsby benchmarks are. Anna, do you want to enlighten people?
That one is outside of my pay scale.
Oh, right. Well, me or Alison? Alison, do you want to do that? Gatsby benchmark?
No, actually, Rob's your man. Has he gone?
Yeah. No, he's still here. Rob,
Yeah,
you
let
do
Rob.
that. I can talk about them as well, but everybody will have enough of me. And Alison's put a link to the Enthuse partnerships in the chat now, everybody. Thanks, Alison.
Yeah.
Gatsby is a large body, I suppose, for want of a better word, that funds various initiatives around the sort of STEM's one big area, and it's sort of, Lord Sainsbury's cash that they splash about. So there were two big reports. There was one on practical science and one on sort of careers, both authored by Professor Sir John Holman, who I have met. He's a really, in fact, he's got an interest in SEND careers as well. So really, really sort of knowledgeable. He was been a science teacher. He's been a he's a chemistry teacher, head of department. He's been a head teacher, and then he came back and is I've forgotten his exact title, but he's been based at the University of York in their science education team. And there's the report that most people reference for Gatsby careers. He came out with a set of careers benchmarks, which were written for secondary schools, but I think there's bits there that do work really well across primary as well. And these 8 benchmarks that he or his team authored actually were adopted by the DFE and translated into statutory guidance. So in actual fact, if you work in a secondary school, hopefully you will be working towards them. And there are things like having a named careers lead. But one of the interesting, or sort of two of the interesting ones, I suppose, were having contact with employers, sort of things like work experience, employer visits, and careers embedded in the curriculum, so that which goes science. If you follow a science capital approach, it's very similar or interleaved with that, and it's all about raising aspirations and students seeing that STEM careers are for them. And that does work. I've got a contact of a colleague I know through BASC, who's actually a primary teacher in Bridlington, and she's actually just done a master's on careers in primary school. And it's amazing to see some of the things she's been doing as well. I mean, all kinds of initiatives linked to that as well. So we're all sort of revolving, I suppose, around careers and careers in STEM. Does that answer your what you wanted me to say, Deb?
Yeah, I think that's really useful. So there was a big push on the Gatsby benchmarks about 3 years ago, and lots of posters were sent out to schools, and schools were really being encouraged to engage and use it as a vehicle for getting students into sort of science work experience. And then, of course, we've had COVID and lockdown and everything else. So that element of Gatsby benchmark seems to have sort of dropped away a bit, leaving the bits that Rob was talking about there. But I think it's interesting because we know that we live in a world, whether we like it or not, where we have lots of different players and lots of people with different pots of money for various reasons wanting to get involved in all different parts of education, not just science education. And I think the Gatsby benchmarks have been an interesting way of embedding some of that private sector finance into directly trying to raise social mobility, science capital with whole groups of students in different parts of the country. We have a very interesting region because we have some areas with really high science capital and tech related jobs, and some areas with really low science capital and tech related jobs. So we're very divergent in that sense. So these sorts of projects and these sorts of funding pots are really useful for us as an area and as a region, because it means we can tackle the the gaps that we have, and really kind of push the different groups towards that to help people's kind of longer term achievement, really. Okay, so moving on. So obviously, you know that I run the Science Learning Partnership. I also do a lot of teacher training. So I train teachers in early years, primary and secondary. And one of the things that Rob has done for me in the past is do special sessions on early career teachers in schools. And they are really worth thinking about. If you've got a group of early career teachers across some schools that you're working with, it definitely is worth putting them down for that session with Rob. It's really sort of beneficial. So a lot of the work that we used to do around the RQT agenda, before that was the NQT agenda, that's gone into the early career teacher framework now, and is being developed in that way. So again, we are able to offer very much sort of bespoke needs across, whatever it is really that you're dealing with inside your school or trust. Okay, Anna, over to you. Do you want to talk a little bit about sort of how it works and how people are best really emailing you to get onto courses?
Of course. Do you want to move over to the next slide for me, please? So you have met our main core group of facilitators that we have for items. So Jane Banham is our primary specialist. We can do things with early years. We have a lady called Sarah Eames who works with us on early years. And we have a technician who can work with all sorts of technician-based items called Simon Quinnell. So what I'm hoping from what you've seen today is you've got a list for each person for the kind of courses that they can kind of do for you. If you are interested in any of the listings of the courses, if you could get in contact with me with the email stem@dtsa.org.uk, and then I can have a look at whether there are any bursaries available for that at this specific time, or whether it's something that you need specific for you or your trust. And I will always look around for different pots of money that I might be able to bid for or get for you to try and reduce the cost to the schools at the point of impact. We are set up very differently from a lot of the other science learning partnerships in the fact that we are set up as a charity. So we do not make any profit. Anything that we have gets reinvested back in to run more fully funded courses. So we use this in order to be able to have an impact on both primary, secondary and tertiary training that comes in. There is some on our website at the moment. There are courses that are labelled up with costs that we have been advised to use from STEM. So we have costs that are £185 for a full day, £95 for a half day, or £75 for a network meeting. But I have bursaries that are available almost unlimitless for use so long as they are booked by the 31st of April. So if anybody is interested in anything, if you look on our website and see something with those costs attached to them, then please get in contact with me. And there is a £100 bursary on the 185, and there is a £50 bursary on the £75 and the £95 costs. So that can reduce courses down quite considerably. So in a nutshell, always ask, because a cheeky ask is always better than not engaging with us at all. I'm always up for seeing what I can do to get the best out of the CPD that you need and for the best price that I can do it for. So we are here and available to help you with any of your STEM learning needs.
And as Jane said earlier on, we offer free remote courses every now and again anyway, like the one Jane's got going tomorrow afternoon. So if finance is a barrier, it's always worth dropping Anna an email, because we have pots of money that we will put next to things, and we do deliberately put things on that are entirely free so that all schools can access them. It is worth everybody knowing that the reason things have a cost associated with them is because that's what the Department for Education say they should have. So the DFE are giving money to STEM Learning, who give money in turn to us to run these partnerships, and they come with a fee that's built in through the system. Okay, so this isn't anything that we designed, put onto it. It's how the system is currently designed, which is quite different to, for example, to how it was sort of 10, 20 years ago. So it is worth everybody kind of understanding that. But we are pretty good as an organisation at tapping into different pots of funding to enable people to access a wide range of different things.